Everything's wonky. That's straight. And we're live. Wow, how about that? It's a bit bright, that is. Well done. That's not quite bright enough, but it'll do. It'll do. Right, just until a few more people jump on, I'm just going to get some candles lit, get rid of these massive, you know, I look like, if these were dark, you know, like sunglasses, I'd look like a fly. So I'm going to get rid of these, get my my live streaming glasses on, and then we'll crack on. Let's get a few candles going on in the background. Just bear with me. I just didn't want to be too late this time for a change. Yeah, isn't it mad? You know, when we were kids, back when we were kids, it was 5th of November, that was it. Maybe the night before, if they're giving out really, really bad rain for November the 5th, or maybe the day after. Now, it's 2 weeks fucking leading up to it, and then a week afterwards. You know, I live on tarred planet, and they are tarred because there are cats and dogs cowering, shaking, with bloodshot eyes, hiding behind sofas because of tards. Bear with. They've either not got dogs or they haven't got a cat. But then it's not just about the dogs and the cats, you know, there's badgers, there's foxes, there's birds roosting, you know. They haven't got the fucking brains they were born with. Let me make this a bit lighter because that is a bit too dark, but I look rough as fuck. Just getting over something. So, not that I was photogenic before, but even less so tonight. Who's in the house? Hey up, Lon. Hey up, sweetheart. You all right? And hello, Michael. I'm glad you can both join us. Very, very much appreciated as always. And it does feel like quite a while since I've done a live. I've just not been alive. Oh man, you know, I think every now and then we forget that we carry so much fucking weight on our shoulders because of what we know, in comparison to what they would call the normies out there, the NPCs. You know, they know fuck all really, you know, in comparison. So they don't carry the same weight that we carry. And every now and then, it catches up on you. And I don't big myself up for very much, ever, because I've got no ego. So my mind doesn't allow for me to big myself up. But I do give good advice, I do. But I'm really, really shit at taking my own advice on having breaks. So it got the better of me. And the body and the mind is intrinsically connected. There's overwhelming evidence out there, lots and lots of scientific studies done on it. If you let your mind run low, run down, your body gets run down. And that's what happened. Anyway. Hello. Right. Chelsea, young Chelsea. Tincture Chelsea. Am I right? I think I'm right. Anyway, hello Chelsea, and welcome to our lovely little live stream. Let me just make a fag. I've treated myself to the heating, you know, which is something that you wouldn't have said. You would never have said, I'm treating myself to heating 10 years ago. You just wouldn't have said something like that because it was particularly cheap, but it's never, ever been this expensive. To the point where we're paying higher energy costs than any other country in the world. The UK is 100% a test bed for several things. The erosion of freedom of speech is definitely one of them, because I don't think there's any other country in the world at the moment, excuse me, by that I mean free. Again, oh my God, when we used to say we live in a free country, we've never lived in a free country, never, but we will. So freedom of speech, obviously, in places like China and Russia, you know, and various other places, it's a no-no. North Korea. So just saying that and just hearing myself say that, I've just bizarrely compared my country to China, Russia, and North Korea. So we are a test bed for the erosion of freedom of speech in the Western world, in non-communist. When you really, really let it, you know, sink in there, you start to realise that we are indeed becoming a communist state. But all you need to remember is that although the country is becoming a communist state, we are not. And that's what matters. Because the country isn't a country without its people. And the people say no. End of evening of the 5th outside was so smoky. All I could think about was the wildlife. Exactly. Same here, Lana. And the wee robin. breathing that shit in all night after being terrified. I know. If you see, I don't like the erosion of freedoms, right? So I can't say that, and then, but then no, I can, right? So I normally I don't like buts. You know, we should never have our freedoms eroded. It should never be followed by a but. But there's got to be some sort of restrictions as far as giving a fuck about the wildlife and about our. I'm very, very lucky. Zephyr and Storm, a really fucking loud one will go off, and just bark at it. They'll just bark at it like wolves to the moon. You know, that's it. They're not particularly bothered. But I know people who have got dogs and cats that are, you know, and you can lift their eyelid up, and all around their beautiful shiny eyes, where it should be white, is red, because their blood pressure has gone through the fucking roof, all because of these dickheads. You know, shit for brains. Shit for brains. Absolutely no consideration, no thought. There's no thought process, no consideration. And it's people with no consideration that I would consider to be a useless eater, which is a swear term now for people like us to be saying, because it's that they're saying, and we don't want to be saying anything that they're saying, because that'll make us as bad as them. When in actual fact, it's just common sense. Fuck them. I wish these people would just go and play on the motorway, you know, or have a mess around with 2 live wires with 240 fucking volts, you know, as many amps as you can get into them as possible. Too much? Yeah, I know you, Michael. All right, brother. I've only just spotted you there, Michael, Lana, Chelsea, Jordan. I can guarantee every single one of the people in the chat, and everyone, all 9 people that are listening now, would definitely consider wildlife. Would definitely consider other people's pets, even if they've not got any pets of their own, because we're just like that. We're just built like that. You know, we're considerate people. We think outside the box. We think beyond our brains and beyond ourselves. You know, the vast majority of us are empaths. It goes with the territory. But unfortunately, not everyone's like us. You know, it would be fucking amazing if they were. It would. You know, and a damn sight easier. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, Jordan. I was, life got the better of me, you know, and I don't like that. I don't like anything to get the better of me. Or if you feel yourself sinking, shake it off. Again, there's me giving you solid advice that you can't argue with because it's the truth. But I'm just shit at taking my own advice. But when things like that happen, it reminds me to start taking my own advice. And then I will for a while, until I forget. Heating on, vodka and smokes, you're living it up. I am, Michael. I don't ask for much, mate. You know, that's another thing. I don't want a flash car. I don't want a fucking mansion and a swimming pool. You know? I just want the little things in life. Just the little things. That's all I want. Just to be left to fuck alone and just to live a nice, simple, happy life. You know, in touch with nature and in contact with good people. You know, it's not much to ask for. But every now and then we get tested, you know, and get tested again. We get rhinos, you know, and we get layered. And all it does is it smashes you up, sometimes fucking obliterates you. And then when you come out the other side, you're stronger than the person you were before you had a crash. As long as you can pull through it, it's all good. It's a really, really, really fucked up silver lining. Oh dear. Sky Girl's in the house. Help, sweetheart. Hope you're okay. Hope you're doing all right. Did I shout then? I think I'm just a bit enthusiastic about just trying to get back to some sort of level of normality, whatever the fuck that is. Cheers. But yeah, you know, it can so when I started to struggle with my head, my body followed suit and I just came down with something. I'm not quite sure what it was. Which is, you know, it's typical because I'm making a tincture that would have stopped that. It would have halted it in its tracks. 100% guaranteed. But it's not ready for another 6 weeks, you know? And I don't really want to try it now because it's going to be, it will be pretty gross, you know? It's not ready. It's not ready. I don't want to touch it until it's ready because then I want to try it, you know? I want to kind of let my body run down, you know, just by eating chips and pizza and drinking just shit water to let my body just fucking collapse into itself. So I come down with something, because you don't catch colds, by the way. You don't catch the cold. You don't catch the flu. It just happens because you run down, because your body's missing something. They call it cold and flu season because we don't get as much vitamin D. We've got a massive reduction in seasonal vegetables and fruit. The days are shorter. People get seasonal adjustment disorder. It's a combination of all that. You know, we're missing out on all the things that make us flourish during the summer. That's why it's cold and flu season. It's got fuck all to do with. I can walk into, when I'm feeling tip top, I can walk into a room full of people coughing and spluttering. I wouldn't do that now. But say pre-2019, I could walk into a room full of people coughing and spluttering, and I'd come out of there after a few hours going around, wiping people's snot off my face because they've sneezed on me, you know, a bit of spit that they just spat on me when they've been talking because of just overactive saliva glands and all sorts of lovely stuff like that. And I'd be fine. You don't catch shit. You just get shit. But yeah, now I just see it as, I'd see that shit as shedding. You know, when I see people sneezing around me, if I'm walking down the street and someone, say 20 feet in front of me goes, right, I'll stop, I'll turn, I'll cross the fucking road and then carry on my way. Because otherwise I'm going to walk straight into their little aerosolized mess of fucking spike proteins and shit. And I don't want that. Not on a day that ends with Y. Oh, I love it when you all say "hey up." I do. I love it. It warms me cockles. Still trying to sort my sleep out after the clocks went back. You'll get there, Lana. But I'm working on it. Hope you're doing okay. You'll get there. It's just again, it's, you know, as we discussed, we're not I was going to say we're not at war. You know, we don't need to be having the daylight savings anymore. We're not at war, but we are at war. We're at war with our own government, with the cockroaches, Islam, Israeli Zionism and the rest of the world. So we are at war. But the daylight saving hours, they're not really fit for purpose as they were back in World War II. It's not the same situation anymore. But a few people have pointed out that, you know, kids are coming home from school in the dark now, and we've got cockroaches everywhere. Big cockroaches, you know, between 5'5" and 6'5", walking around with no impulse control. Dirty, filthy, fucking scumbags. So having the days a little bit lighter so that you can get home a little bit safer, it's probably serving a purpose again, but it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Still trying to sort my yes, the hour does mess up a bit. All good here. Yeah, it doesn't seem to. It's not affected me, but then I think it boils down to a little bit of self-discipline. Really, I've got a lot of self-discipline in so many areas of my life, but going to bed at a certain time and getting up at a certain time isn't one of them, you know. But then you guys will have strengths that I've not got. I'll have strengths that you haven't got, which is why as a collective we're so powerful, you know. We are, and they know it. I was thinking about, so there's a guy who's got a channel that I have sort of put out there, and a few of you guys have subscribed to him. He's creeping up to 200 subscribers now, which is good because I like what he puts out. But I did say to him, look, Russia is part of this. It's not a case of Russia's separate and, you know, China's separate. There's probably maybe a couple of countries left in the world that aren't connected into all of this. And both of, I can think of two, just two, are in on this shit, and that's Iran and fucking hell, it's gone. Is it Majura? And that's it. And they're both about to be wiped out. And that'll be it then. So it will literally just be down to the people of each country to start fighting back and to grow a pair. But Russia is, I did say in a previous live stream that I believe that Russia is the purpose of Russia, because I think each country, especially like these super countries, your big, like almost continental sized countries, they've all got a purpose. And I think China is kind of, you know, just flogging his cheap stuff because we get a dopamine hit every time we get something delivered. I'm a lot better than I was. I only buy stuff that I need now, things that I have a really all things that I want to buy for people, for you know, for presents or as thank yous, you know. So keeping things nice and cheap, buying cheap imports and stuff like that. I think that's China's purpose. But maybe some sort of military backup further down the line because they've got the biggest navy in the world now. But Russia is the meat grinder. That's where people go to die. And that's Putin's job, is to... There's never been a more effective, more efficient way of bringing the population down than war. Without wars, we'd be up to about 15 billion now, and it would plateau out at that 15 billion because we just end up in a situation where it's just pestilence and disease and famine and Yeah, bad. So if it wasn't for war, oh yeah, he's just popped in there. Hey up, matey. Yeah, yeah. So I always struggle to tell you what his channel's called because it's a really difficult one to memorize. You know, Rose Hippie Guy, dead easy. But don't change the name of your channel. You know, stay unique. But yeah, I did leave. So please go over and subscribe. Please get him up to 200 and then plus, because he's got a great channel. You know, he's got a different angle from things, a different way of thinking, and I really like that, and I really respect that. But Russia he responded back to one of my comments, and as soon as Russia announced their incoming digital ID system, which I think is called Max, the Max app. I've not actually written any notes down for tonight because I don't want to do that tonight. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself at all. I wanted to just go with the flow. No, I've written it down somewhere, but I don't know what I've done with it. But I think it's called the Max app. So that's Russia's version of WeChat, and that's about to be implemented. So if you want to look at any other country and say, "Are you in on it? Are you a fucker as well?" Right? Just look to see if they've got plans for a digital ID, because all countries, to some degree or another. I'm doing a little bit of scouse there. Hey, fuck off, mate. Sorry if there's any scousers listening, because I know that you do sound like that. And we love you for it. The digital ID system is working in lockstep with every other country. So any country that's not got a digital ID system about to kick in, or at least on the table, then chances are, for now, that's a free country. You know, that's not in on this global cabal. But from what I can see, there's only a few countries that haven't got one either in the pipeline, being implemented, or is already in place. So that's just it's just an obvious marker to look for, the digital ID, because they're determined. And again, you know, when you look at the UK, and I've been looking at several different polls from several different places, and it does seem to be hovering around the 90% mark of people that don't approve. How are you going to be able to push a system onto people when 90% of them, so what would that be? About 60 million people, thereabouts, something like that. How are you going to push something onto 60 million people that don't want it? So they're going to have some plans in the background to nudge. When I say nudge, I mean nudge you with a fucking freight train. They've got to come in with something that's extremely fucking hardcore to freak everyone out. And that could quite possibly be a tactical nuke. And I have said that. I've said that quite some time ago. And I know you'll remember, because I used the term shock and awe. And that's what the Twin Towers did. So UK-11-11-prepper. What's your name, mate? And I'll write it down, because I'm just terrible with names, and it's just easier to call you by your name or a pseudonym. It's easiest fine. It's just easier than that. Hello, Sal Misra, aka Amanda. You know, I am starting to remember some names, but they're very randomized. You know, and it does my fucking head in, because it comes across as rude, and I'm not rude. I don't mean to be rude. So yeah, it's not going to be a. I have 3 names: Amanda, Mandy, and Doris. Doris. That's a very traditional British name. I like that. So that's what you need to be looking for, right? This is what I've got. So if this is what I've got, it means that I've done my research and I trust it, right? You only get a 2-week supply in there if you took 1 a day, or a week's supply, depending on the severity of. Again, there are still theories out there that fallout doesn't actually exist. So, but anyway, if anyone wants, you know, I've put a post out with that before, just saying, if they're doing nuclear tests and there are prevailing winds, and then there ends up being radioactive dust that starts to drift into the UK, quite bad, then that's what you need to take, because they block your they don't block, but they kind of sort of jam your oh fucking hell, Lana, help me out. Your I don't know why I did that, because that's not what they do. That's not what they look like. I wonder what they could use. Why a new no to shock people, Amanda, to freak people out, because they want to start. They've not done that many, as far as we know. They haven't done that many tests for tactical nukes. Some would say they've never tested proper nukes. It's just all visuals. I don't believe that, because I do believe that a lot of American airmen and women were put. So say this is where the blast zone is, right? And then this is the safe zone, the safety zone from the blast and the fallout. What the American government are guilty of doing, it's just starting to come out now, but although a lot of us have known it for years, is that they brought those soldiers in to test, to see what the damage would be. Our governments are responsible for so many really, really fucked up experimental shit on their own people. Every country, especially America. So that's what you need. Debunking nuclear bombs and the aftermath. Yeah, that's what I mean, Amanda. There is definitely a lot of thyroid. Thank you, Michael. I wouldn't have been able to fucking chill out otherwise, because I've just left something wide open, just left it open. I like to open things, close them, open another one, close them, open several at once, because I can multitask, you know. Women don't hold the monopoly on that shit. I don't even know why I did that, because that's what a woman would do. Doesn't even look like my head's attached to my fucking body. But yeah, thanks for that, Mike. So it basically gets into your thyroid, needs to go into your thyroid and prevent radiation from getting into your thyroid glands and then spreading throughout your body. So you end up with radiation sickness. But again, it's really, really difficult to work out for sure as to whether or not radiation really exists from. So look at Chernobyl, for example, just for one example, right? They've got to put this massive concrete shield over the top of it, right? And they moved shitloads of people out there. It's like, you've got to come out, got to move, you know? We have we have duty here. Right, of course you do. Well, that wouldn't have fucking happened otherwise, you know, if you did have. So they evacuated loads of people out, but loads of people said, no, fuck that, I'm staying, I've lived there all my life. They didn't quite say it like that in English. And they stay put. But all the wildlife in that area, in and around Chernobyl, is thriving. Absolutely thriving. But one really, really strange, bizarre thing that's happening, that seems to be happening, feel free to look it up, is the fact that there's loads of, again, in a lot of countries that aren't quite England, right? They have a lot of dogs that just run wild. You know, they'd be rescued in this country. They'd be rescued and either rehomed or put down. But over there, they've got dogs running around Chernobyl that are developing a blue colour to the fur. Noticeably. I know you can get certain breeds of dog that are blue. They're known as blue, like Staffies, for example. Because when the sun's shining on Storm, you can see the blue just when it's reflecting off her fur. But she's not, you know, she's not walking around like that, you know. Whereas these dogs are blue, you know. They're not as blue as that. let me just clarify that. They're thriving. Wildlife is thriving in that area. So is it just humans? Is it just a human thing? Is it because we're so complex as beings that we end up getting more fucked up from this sort of stuff? Or is it all bullshit? But I don't want to take any chances. But if you take these without a radiation threat on a regular basis, they can fuck you up. That's why they only come in a pack of, you get 14 in a bottle. Much appreciated all for your support. Spiritual time for being on the right path. It is, brother. It is. And we're being tested daily. And I know you've got a family, and I know you're trying to figure out a way to source an income or find a way to provide for yourself and your family. You didn't give much away in your last video, so and that's your own, you know, your own prerogative to disclose whatever you want whenever you want, you know. Whether you're deciding to kind of work outside of the system and find a way that way, or whether you're going to sort of dip in and out of the system or stay within the system and just see how it goes. I don't know what your plans are, mate, you know, but I sincerely wish you the absolute best of luck, you know, because you are on the right path. You really are. You all are. Am I right? So I've just gone up a little bit, and I've just seen Sal Misra's message saying I'm breaking up. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Is everything all right? Because if not, I can see what I can try and do. Where are we? Can you type tonight? Lana, it's those big banana fingers you've got. She's got a normal lady body, you know. I'm a lady, you know. She's all like that, right? But with big banana fingers. Right? She's got banana-itis. Ain't you, Lana? I'm sure her hands are normal. But I do like to make shit up now and then just for a crack. And the whole banana fingers. Nice one, Michael. Right, good. I think Hiroshima and Nagasaki were carpet bombs, not nukes. I think you might be right there, Lana, because nothing really adds up. You know, there have been a few people that have been over there, and they've been in and had proper chats with survivors of that day, and they all kind of tied in with each other. They all kind of met on a bridge and stuff like that. I mean, it was fucked up. It was seriously fucked up. I do believe that they've got Moabs now, mother of all bombs, Moabs. So I don't know if anyone remembers the explosion that happened at the port. Was it Lebanon? I think it was Lebanon. And no one had ever seen anything like that on the telly before. It was fucking amazing, you know, devastating and really, really freaky at the same time. I mean, I wouldn't have liked to have been there, but to watch that blast like that, to see the actual blast, the air being like pushed out of the way so fast that you can see the air. And there was multiple angles as well. There was some sort of wedding dress company that was doing a photo shoot with a model in a wedding dress, or it might have been a wedding. I don't know. I mean, what a fucking wedding that'd be, you know? Messed her hair right up. Dress was flapping around. Right state. But yeah, you could see that. You could see it. You know, it was just boom. And it just went down all the streets, and yeah, it was bad. And her hair was like that. Her dress was like that. It was interesting to watch, but that wasn't a nuke. You know, Moab. They've got bombs that can do so much damage, so much fucking damage. But then they've got weapons that they can use from space as well. So I don't know why they're using kinetic weapons down here, other than using up old stock, because they've got all this new shit, this new tech. They need to use all of the old stuff up whilst making a few quid at the same time. Has anyone heard of the Rod of God? No, not that Rod of God. It's a space thing, and it just shoots this metal bolt out, and it's just the kinetic energy of when that meets the Earth is absolutely fucking devastating. Rod of God. What are the bananas for, Amanda? Are you being dirty? Yes, the port explosion. It was massive. Something strange there. Yeah, very strange. And I never ever the excuses they gave for that. You know, like, oh, there is fertilizer in the hull of a ship. Oh, really? Oh, right. Okay. Okay. That was a test. They tested something, and again, these people, these nut jobs, they need to test all of these weapons of war, right? All of the sick, fucked up, twisted ones. They all need to be tested on humans. They all need to be tested in a real life setting, so that they've got a very accurate data set on what damage is done at the point of the initial point, and then the aftermath. And that's what they do. That's what they've been doing for years. But that was bad. That was really bad. And this is the sort of shit that they've got. And then you take into account that they've definitely got stuff from up there, because they're at, but then I was going to say there is footage, but what's real? What's real anymore? AI is so sophisticated now. It's incredible. And biometrics, for example, they can, so when you pick your phone up, get this is very real. When you go to swipe, so even if you've not, so on the back of this phone, if you can see that, that's a fingerprint reader, right? Fingerprint reader there, right? I don't use that. But then you've got face scan, iris scanner, especially on the newer phones. But there's technology in, say, smartphones from the last 5 years or so. You've got ridges on your fingers that are very unique to you, right? Now, there's technology that can pick up the noise that the ridges, the unique ridge formation of your fingerprint makes as you swipe your screen, or swipe up, or swipe across, and it can pick up on those vibrations and tell, and it'll give a reading of that movement based on the ridges of your phone, a sound that is unique to you. They can then go and replicate your fingerprint based on that. Then they can copy your fingerprint, and then if they've already got your DNA, especially if you've been a naughty boy in the past, they can then add your DNA to that and then place your fingerprints at the scene of a crime. Well, Your Honour, I was in bed, fast asleep. Have you got any alibis? Have you got anyone? Did you have anyone with you? I was asleep. I live on my own. 30 years for you, you little bastard. And then they've got something else as well. Please feel free to look this one up. Fuck me. It will do your head in. I'm just going to tell you what it's called, but then I want you to go and look into it yourself, because I think what a lot of people have found is that over time, we've tried to convince people that are just, a lot of them are just, the lights are on. There's just no getting through to them. But there have been some where you've seen a glimmer and you've just thought, right, I need you to just go and look into it. Just go and look into this, and then let me know what you think. I'm not going to tell you anymore. Just tell me what you think. And that really does pay dividends because people are going off and they're learning in their own way, in their own time. You know, it's called Cognify. In fact, let me see what Google says it is. All right, I fucking hate Google. Have you guessed? Can you tell? As he just swipes the phone. I'll probably get Nick for taking a politician out now, but it probably will have been me. What is Cognify? So, Lana, what's the name of that film with Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. Hello, Lulu. Oh, it's lovely to have you in. I haven't seen you for ages. It's nice of you to have joined us. Minority Report. Thank you, Lana. Right, so think of Minority Report. And Lana, yes or no, have you heard of Cognify? So let me just read this out to you, okay? Cognify. Let me stop my drag because this is not very long, but it's interesting and it's concerning. I thought you might have done. Yeah, no gets past you. We Scottish lass. Right, so Cognify can refer to several different things, most notably a game-based cognitive aptitude test, well, that's not it, or a futuristic, this is the one, a futuristic prison concept by Hashim AI Gahali that uses AI to implant artificial memories for rehabilitation, right? This is very real. So what they do is they plant memories into, they'll say mass murderers, serial rapists, serial pedophiles. They'll tell you things like that so that it'll make you think, yeah, fuck them, right? When in actual fact they're trying it out on anyone. Some bloke that's just got in there, just got 2 months for fucking poaching on some cunt lord's land, right? So don't let that fool you. So what they do is they imprint memories into the brain that can make you experience something like 20 years of you think about the most vivid dream you've ever had, right? How real that felt. And you as far as you were concerned, it was real until you woke up, then you realized it wasn't. Now imagine having something imprinted in your brain to the point where you believe that that's just happened, that 20 years of your life has just elapsed. 20 years of cognitive therapy to turn you into an upstanding citizen. That's how they're selling it. That's how they're selling Cognify. That's how advanced this science is now. Artificial memories for rehabilitation. It can also refer to a company that builds modern blah, blah, blah. So that's all bollocks now. But please look into Cognify. It's how it's spelled. It's how it sounds. It's how it's spelled. And do a deep dive on it. You know, very, very, very fucking sinister. You know. then take into account that voice to school technology was kind of quite advanced in the late 60s, even more so in the 70s. So imagine what that's like now. And then the ability to beam those voices into your head from satellites really accurately to go and, you know, to the point where you think you're listening to your own subconscious when you're not. It's artificial. So you can go off and do insane things, you know, horrific things, school shootings, for example, assassination attempts, for example. So imagine if they advance that technology so far that they can affect one of us and imprint 20 years worth of experience and life fitted into a few hours into your head. We're up against a lot to win this war. In order for us to win this war, we need to fight it one battle at a time. It's all very Total Recall too. Yeah. I'd go with that, Lana. I think you're absolutely spot on. Simulation theory. Do you know what, Amanda? I think all of us, most of us, are all people that are trying to work out what is this all about? Why are we here? Is this real? Are bits real and bits not real? How can we decipher between the two? What is reality, basically? Right? Now, some people think that the Earth's flat. Some people think it's round and we're spinning through space at several 100,000 miles an hour. Blah, 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 blah. We've all got loads of little theories on what reality is. Now, I'm leaning more towards the whole holographic reality above anything else. That everything's a hologram. So then you imagine Project Bluebeam. You throw Project Bluebeam into the mix, right? So with Project Bluebeam, you've then got very, very convincing holograms within a holographic reality that could be part of another reality, and we're being observed, and that reality could also be holographic. Where does it end? You know? Oh, that's a bit much. That's a bit much for a Friday fucking night, Terry. There's your punishment. The Havana syndrome. Yeah. It's and yeah, tinfoil hats. The whole tinfoil hat thing, right? When people think of when people call you a tinfoil hat, because I'm sure I've had it. I'm sure you've had it as well, you know, behind our backs, in front of our faces, and everything in between, you know. I take it as a badge of honor now, because it means that you're a free thinker and you should be proud of that. So the whole tinfoil hoil. I've only had one. Tinfoil hat. There's something in that, because that would deflect anything coming in on your head, you know, the whole voice to, again, that was the 1960s. So you're looking at 50 to 60 years worth of advancing that technology. I mean, look at right. Remember when TVs had a remote control, right? And they were attached to a wire. And you could only sit so far away from the telly. Fucking useless. It's like, just get off your ass and use your finger, right? It's got a fucking wire attached to it. It's still restricted. Fuck that. But then they came out with proper wireless remote controls. Just used infrared. Infrared. That was it. You couldn't see the beam coming from the end of that remote control to your telly. And then you got Bluetooth. You can't see the signal coming from your phone or your stereo or whatever to your Bluetooth headphones or your Bluetooth speaker. You can't see it. So, and then you've got Wi-Fi. I've got next door's Wi-Fi coming through in this house. I've got their fucking Wi-Fi coming through in this house. My own Wi-Fi coming through this house. You know? And then I've got Starlink's bloody signal coming down as well. You know? So you can't see it. You just can't see it. It's invisible. It's invisible, but it is solid information. Complex information that is completely invisible, but it's there, just like air. So just imagine how vulnerable we are. This is why we've got to be on our guards. But just take time out to chill out now and then, he says. Envelop yourself in nature from time to time, just so you can get rid of the saturation of all of this shit. You know? Just for a while at least. CERN's definitely a concern. There's definitely a lot more going on there than meets the eye and that they give away. They're not going to build something that big just to smash a few particles together. It's like, right, we've smashed some particles together. That's it. We'll close it all down now. All right. Thanks for your work. Good. Brilliant. Amazing. Geniuses. Shutting it down. What the fuck? They're just getting going with that shit. Hello, Ruthie. You're right, sweetheart. How was your lamb? Like I said, remember you can do something with those bones as well, you know? Bone meal, and well, there's several things you can do. Amazing for your garden, bone meal. Amazing. One of the best fertilizers known to mankind. And you and your dogs, if you've got a dog. Where are we? Faraday cage on your head. Yeah, Faraday cage on your head. That's exactly what it is. It is, yeah. I don't know if I've shown you this. Hold on a minute. You're going to go up a little bit. Don't get seasick on me. That's right. This was underneath it. So I've got a Faraday pouch here, and it does work. I've also got Faraday pouches for at least 2 phones, but I've got hard drives that I need to protect. And you see, that could be another weapon that's on the ready to fuck us all up, is an EMP. So I'm not so worried about CMEs. I know we're overdue for one, and if we were hit by a CME that was equivalent to the Carrington event or worse, then I'm not going to prep for that. I'm not going to plan for that, because I'd rather die. It'd be like being nuked. If nukes exist, it'll be the same, because loads of shit caught fire, and it was a very, very basic setup in the late 1800s. You know, just overhead cables, and then receiving stations where they could send one message from one to another through these wires and stuff. And those systems caught fire because of the electrical cables. They were sent up to such a high temperature that they caught fire. Now, in this cupboard here is my fuse box. Now, I've got electrical copper cable running around all over this house. If that all heats up, this house will combust. So will next door. So will that. Every house on this street, every house in Long Eaton, every house in Nottingham, regional fires that cannot be put out, creating in so much smoke that we will end up with what they would call a nuclear winter. Not being able to grow any crops, just not being able to breathe. So I haven't prepped for a CME, but an EMP, I could prep for that. You know, it's still a silent killer, but it's only a silent killer if you're not prepared for one. Because you're looking at the end of electricity, right? 10 years maybe to rebuild the infrastructure, get everything working again, maybe less. I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy. You can kiss goodbye to water coming out your tap. So if you don't live near a river or a water source, I suppose we are quite lucky living in England because it never stops fucking raining. Needed to get that little outburst out. I feel better already. But I am fortunate that I've got a river down the road there, you know, and all I need to do is just dig, I don't know, I'd say about 5 meters away from the river. Just keep digging down, keep digging down, keep digging down. And the water from that river and the groundwater will collect in that hole. And then you scoop it. Just scoop it and scoop it and scoop it. And then run it through a filter, which is just pebbles, gravel, you know, sand, charcoal. What comes out of the bottom, I would say, is drinkable. But most people would say boil it first. But if you've got no way of boiling it, you're faced with a situation, aren't you? Right? You either don't drink it and die of dehydration, which is a horrible way to die. Look it up. Or you take your chances and maybe have the shits to the point where you need to drink more water again and then build up a tolerance for it. There's been microbes in fresh water sources since fresh water sources existed. People drank from them back then, straight from rivers, straight from streams. They still do that in certain parts of the world. Drinking water that they throw their waste, bodily waste in, and then they wash themselves in it, and their clothes in it, and that's their drinking water as well. You know, and yeah, they have their problems. You know, they have their fucking problems. You know, dysentery is a massive problem, and something you don't want. But we're talking about digging down into earth to get the water to purify itself to some degree before it gets to fill that hole up. Then you scoop it and then you purify it further. And then charcoal is antibacterial and antimicrobial. So it's going to work to some degree. You know, I would rather take the risk of quenching my thirst and rehydrating my body so I can function and then know what to do if I do get some problems than die of dehydration. So I do feel quite blessed that I live where I live. I do think that to some degree, I was meant to live here. There are certain aspects of living here and the avenue of my life that I could have done without. But it is what it is, you know. As long as you can survive. Anyway, I'm waffling. Let me just catch up on the on this. I know, hey Lana, you fucked my head up with that. I know you typed it a while back, but I'm just going to read it out. I know everyone's already read it, but wait till you get into the 15-dimensional time matrix, parallel matrix, and phantom matrix. I already feel nauseous. What I do when I feel nauseous and it's a bit much, you know, I go for a wee. When I come back, I'm reset. Don't make me run out of wee, Lana. I've decided this is just way too long. I think there's about right. That's better. Right, so if there's anyone out there that don't think they've got enough pubes, bit of PVA glue, send me your address in the email. It's yours. Free. On me. Because I'm fucking nice like that, you know? Yeah, that's better. I can lift my head up now. There's so much weight. Bloody gorgeous. Oh, thank you, Ruth. Oh, I can't take it. And I know you're talking about the lamb. Yeah, they got rid of lead paint for a reason in it. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, 100%. I do think that that this kitchen is lined with lead paint because trying to get a signal in there is ridiculously difficult, very difficult. And I think that's because it's got lead paint. I really do. And they just they always put it down to it's your health. It's because we care about you, you know. We want you to be healthy, whilst they're pumping you full of fucking and putting whatever in your food, you know, and our water. We should be charging them for the electricity that we're using to run our distillers and to buy new filters for our Birkies. We should be charging them. And I'm not far away from going to battle with Severn Trent Water. And it's a battle I'm looking forward to. It's just that I don't want to take too much on all at once, because I know what happens, you know. I'm not a bite-sized kind of person, you know. I'm fucking mouthful at a time kind of person, right? But I've got the police to deal with. I've not done anything wrong. The police to deal with, DVLA to deal with, God knows how many parking companies to deal with. So that'll be four plates spinning on top of the ordinary plates that we've all got spinning anyway, you know. So I don't want to bite off too much than I can chew. But I don't think any of us should be paying Severn Trent Water or any of your water companies a fucking penny for the shit that they're pumping into your taps. You know, the last time I went to Edale, right? One of the girls slipped to lead and she was chasing the sheep. Next thing I know, this big fucking burly bloke walking down. It's like, get your fucking dog on the lead. I'm like, whoa, who are you? It's like, these are my sheep. Big fat fucker he was. These are my sheep. And I just said to him, I fucking hate Big Pharma. Terrible. I don't think they will do the EMPs simply because they need the electronics for their control grid. Yeah, but I do think that if they've got a way of protecting, right? So, for example, I mean, look at what we've got as consumers, right? We've got these. So, and that's at a consumer level. So we know that our governments and the military industrial complex and the deep state are 30 to 40 years ahead of us with tech, right? So imagine if they've isolated everything that can do us damage, or anything that they need, any electrical infrastructure that they need, that they've isolated it, so it wouldn't make any difference to them, but it'd make a massive difference to us. You know, these people, once they've got specific types of weapon, they want to be able to use them. They want to see how. Let's see what it works. See if it works. Let's see what it does. Let's see how much fucking damage we can do with it. You know, that's how these people think. So I'm not ruling an EMP out. I am prepared for an EMP, and I'll survive an EMP. But most people won't, because they've not thought ahead. That's the difference between preppers and non-preppers. You know, we use our heads. We've got foresight as opposed to walking foreskins. I do need to try and be a little bit more considerate towards people that aren't like us, because that's more division, and I'm helping that along. But I just get so frustrated. Not wanting to take the girls out because it's too peoply out there and everyone's doing my fucking head in. People are talking absolute bollocks. And then I'll go onto YouTube and there'll be a big massive congregation of people all fighting back like, send them home, you know, the cockroaches, right? And then in the next breath they're all, oh, time to turn me. That's all I hear, sounding like that. Tommy Tards. But people are starting to see now, aren't they? Finally, starting to fucking see that I'm not just sat here trying to tear your beloved Tommy apart for no reason. People are starting to see now for themselves that he's bought and paid for. He's a fucking patsy. And I think he's starting to realise that he's been used and abused. You know, he's been made to look a proper little cunt. And I'm glad. Everyone at some point in their life needs to be brought back down to earth. And it happens a bit rougher with some people than others. But the outcome is still the same. Going for a shower whilst I have water. Again, as long as you've got a tap, a plug hole that fits. If shit happens and you think that water is going to be a problem, fill your bath straight away. Put the plug in, put the plug in the plug hole, and just run the water. Just run it until it's right to the brim. It's amazing. And not everybody else. If everyone else thought of the same thing, the water pressure from your tap, it would be significantly slower. But we're surrounded by people that have got no forethought. So that won't happen. So fill your bath up as much as you possibly, right to the top before it overflows. That could keep you going for a week. And just have strip washers, you know? Let's get some flannels, buy some flannels. I want to know more about the 15-dimensional time matrix and the other matrices. Do you, Lulu? Really? Because it's a head fuck, right? So I'm going to just give you the basics that you probably already know, right? We see in 2D. 1D is 1D is sort of almost out of our, you know, because we don't live in that world. So, but with 2D, so we see in 2D. And it's only because of the way that light hits things, our brain is able to decipher distance and depth, right? But our eyes actually see in 2D and upside down. So our brains not only write our view, not only do our brains turn everything around, decode it and turn everything around so that everything is the right way up. So we see in 2D and we see everything upside down with these two organs. Our brain adjusts it so that we see depth and distance and the right way around, right? So we see in 2D, but we live in a 3D world. Now, to me, the 4D comes in with smell, taste, intuition, gut feelings, you know. That's 4D to me. I could go on, the list does go on a little bit, because it's things that you will have experienced that fall outside of the 3D world. Especially things that we can't really rationally put down in today's kind of scientific way. You know, it just doesn't work on paper. So then when you start looking at 5D, I mean, 4D is a bit of a head fuck when you start really delving into that. But the fifth dimension, that's odd, very odd. But then when it gets past the fifth, whoa, and you can't even draw a depiction of what the eighth or ninth dimension looks like. You can't do it. They've tried. This is what we think the 11th dimension looks like as a depiction. You off your fucking head? But if I could, I'll tell you what, Lulu, email me. Lana, if you can email me with some information on the little chemical spill that you've just created here in head fuckery, then I'll send it on to Lulu, and yeah, I'll see you in a few years, Lulu. You know, when they take off when they take it off you, you know, and reduce your meds because it's fucked your head up. Everything, absolutely everything boils down to comprehension, right? And anything above the fourth dimension becomes very, very difficult to comprehend. And the higher the dimensions, the more difficult it is to comprehend, because we've never really allowed out, because of indoctrination from day dot, you know, right up to now, and everything that's happening now, everything that's happened in the past, personal things that have happened to us individually, and all of that, that's gotten in the way of us being able to perceive anything other than the dimensions that we're used to being in and around, you know. For example, so we've got the we can only see through a very, very narrow bandwidth of light, and and light's everything, you know. Without a specific bandwidth of light that's specifically designed for our eyes, we can't see out of that bandwidth. And it's something like, we can only see something like 0.005% of what's available to see. 0.005%. Let me just confirm that, because I've not written any notes down. I didn't want to do that tonight. What measurement of light can the human eyes see? I don't know if that was a good question or not. Oh, you see that some of you will get this, but this is a little bit over my head, because this isn't how I think. This is what I'm saying. We all learn in different ways. We all think in different ways, and that's what makes us rich as a society. You know, the human eye can see light with wavelengths between approximately 380 and 750 nanometers. I don't know what sort of question to ask. I don't like fucking around with my phone when I'm doing a live stream. If anyone can think of the right question to ask, let me know. But I know that it's extremely narrow. like that compared to that, you know? So there could be shit going on around you that you're completely unaware of because you can't see it and you can't interact with it. And a lot of that stuff that could be going on around you that you can't interact with or see, whatever that is, might not be able to see you or interact with you either. So, I mean, that ties in with the dimensional thing, the light, the frequency of light, you know, the span of the light that we can see. It's so narrow. I mean, imagine how blown your mind would be if we could see a full light spectrum. I mean, dogs, they see in black and white. They don't even see colour, apparently. And apparently we dream in black and white, but remember it in colour. And they can even read your thoughts now. They can see and read and interpret and visualize your fucking dreams. Nice one, Michael. There's my email there. So Lulu, if you want to email me, cheers, Mike. If you want to email me, and then I'll kind of connect. I'll sort of connect you, if you like, to Lana, so she can send you some, or I can be like the conduit, you know, and send you stuff that she sent to me in relation to you wanting to know a bit more about these dimensions. And there's a lot of head fuckery there, you know, but head fuckery when it comes to education and developing our minds is a form of escapism as well. So it's not actually a bad thing, because you're expanding your mind whilst escaping momentarily, just briefly, from all of the shit that we're having to put up with right now, you know? So it's a win-win situation. Oh, that's less than I thought. You see, this is what I'm saying. So Jordan's been straight on it there, look. 0.0035%. You know, that's fuck all. That's nothing. So you imagine what we're not seeing. And I know that sounds la. I know it sounds batshit bonkers. Thanks, Jordan, by the way. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a fact. It's a fact. Everything is vibration and frequency, including light, especially light. I missed a bit. Best to read Voyagers 1 and Voyagers 2 PDFs are online to download free. Yeah, I will look into that, Lana, unless you want to send it to me, because otherwise there is a chance that it's not because I'm not interested. It's because I might forget, because I throw myself into live streams, you know, and I sometimes forget stuff. Very interesting. Thanks, Terry, on the dimensions. Never really thought about them before. I didn't know we see upside down either. Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. I don't know if you've ever looked through a telescope, Ruth, up at the night sky. You have to add an extra lens to get everything to right its way up, and it's the same principle, exactly the same. We see everything upside down, but our brain corrects it. Imagine if that part of your brain never corrected it, because people have got faults with their brains that send them into lunatic asylums because they're not able to, you know, there is a condition that you can develop where you can't sleep. You can get medication to help to sedate you so that you do rest. But unless you reach REM, which is rapid eye movement level sleep, then you're not sleeping. So if you go, say, a week, 2 weeks, a month, which has been done, the fucking Russians, they did some horrific experiments on people, proper full-on sleep deprivation. These people went mad and died. Sleep, REM sleep's very important. So imagine not being able to sleep. And they've allegedly got weapons that can make you not be able to sleep. And then they've got weapons where you can't stay awake. You know, they've gone well out of their way for the last 80 years, maybe longer, if they've kind of gone into ancient technology and deciphered that as well. And they've, it's a bottomless pit financially for these sick, twisted, mad scientists. Oh dear. It's called the visible light spectrum. Yeah. During a DMT session, again, I'm not entirely sure about that, Michael, because it could be chemicals messing around with your brain composition that's making you think that you're experiencing things that you're not experiencing, making you see things that you're not actually seeing. Or does it? You know? I've done DMT and it didn't really affect me, but it affected the other two people that were with me. We had it one at a time so we could babysit each other, you know? And it just didn't affect me. But then I've had acid, I've had mushrooms, and they don't affect me the way they've affected the people I've been with. So I think some people are maybe just a little bit more susceptible than others. But I have heard some crazy things, mate. I just like to keep a very open mind about it, you know, because I think each individual experience is very unique to the individual. So we don't really know what kind of effects it really has on a person, and whether or not it's provable that you've gone to another dimension, whether it's provable that you interacted with an actual being that was outside of our dimension. You know, there's no proof. And even though sometimes we don't always, proof is such a fucking loose term, you know? Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that they're not experiencing it. Yeah, you know, my experience was very disappointing. And it wasn't shit stuff. People are seeing and I've also seen experiments where people have seen things from a certain angle, lasers from a certain angle, and they've seen code. Code is everywhere. Binary. So again, because binary code is fucking everywhere, binary code is usually only found inside computers. So that could back up the holographic universe theory, and which is what I lean towards the most. 280 to 750 nanometers. Yeah, that's what it said on the. That's what Google told me, but I don't know what that means. In the range of the spectrum, we are practically blind. Yeah, yeah, tiny. So that just sends the imagination into overdrive. It's like, what the fuck am I not seeing? And there'll be animals out there that can see maybe not always necessarily an expansion of our limits of what we can see in our visible spectrum of light. Not necessarily see outside of it, but see alongside it of it, just like a different or kind of half in and half out. You know, they reckon dogs and cats and stuff like that can see ghosts and stuff like that when we can't see them. But then, having said that, then they're not. Just that feels so much better. They haven't got the clutter that we've got. They're not thinking, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to pay next month's bills, right? Oh, fuck, the car's due for insurance next week and I'm skinned, you know? Zephyr's not thinking about the WEF. So they've got loads of spare random access memory, loads of spare RAM, so that they can process stuff without worrying, and they live in the moment as well, which is, you know, definitely a page out of their book we could take. I'll source PDFs over the weekend and send them to you. Thank you, Lana. I really appreciate that. Much appreciated. But yeah, the you know, going back to oh man, it's come up with a big sign saying more than one ingestion is using the primary URL. Send one stream to the primary ingestion URL and one stream to, and that's all it says. Lana, does that make any sense to you? It's in a big orange banner going across the top of the screen. I don't need this shit. Is it conking out on me? Can everyone still hear me okay? I need a heads up because this error. Let me click on the little exclamation mark, see what it means. I hope I don't lose you all. No, nothing. I am. That is correct, Lana. No other, nothing else. You are okay now, but it froze just before me. Right. Okay. What I'll do is I'll take the Wi-Fi off my phone. I should have done that anyway. I just forgot. Right, Wi-Fi's off on my phone. Let's see if that improves things a little bit. Again, it's an old laptop, guys, and there's not really much I can do about it other than not move around too much like I am doing. Right, nice one, Michael. Much appreciated. We need to get another wild camp in there, brother. You know, before it gets too cold, because I don't mind winter wild camping. I fucking love it. I love it. But these two used to the creature comforts, you know. Even as you know, I bring a little rug on my rucksack for them to sleep on. So I don't know how they'll cope with a frost. It's that sign on there on the stream. Oh man. And I can see that I'm a little bit jerky as well. We were doing all right as well, you know. We've got a very, very posh decanter, you know. When I go to a pub and I order a pint and they go, that'll be £5.50. I'm like, for what? Come again. It's 95% fucking water. So I take souvenirs from time to time, you know. I've easily paid for that fucking glass as well, you know. Whenever I go to little country pubs and stuff, especially the ones in Edale, I fill my pockets full of ketchup and mayo and all sorts of horrible, nasty processed shit. Because of the amount of money they charge for a pint now, you know. And Edale pubs, they do all right. They do fine, you know. It's a very popular place. But unfortunately, that gets infested now. When we first got that caravan and we moved and we started to go to Edale to chill out, it was very British, very English, you know. That was one of the draws of going there, was to feel English again, you know. Especially when you spent a day in Birmingham, it's like, fuck me. Multiculture is not our strength, it is our weakness, and we've been far too tolerant. We shouldn't have any Pakistani men or women in government in this country. It's England, it's Scotland, it's Ireland, it's Wales. If we went over to Pakistan and said, right, you've not got enough white people in your government here, I'm up for it. They'd be like, no, bloody fucking bastard. No. You bloody white, ain't it? Can't have any white people. No, bloody bastard, fucking. You'd be out of there. Same as any other country. And any African country, if you go to any African country and have a look at go flick through the African channels, because you've gone to Africa for holiday, you know. I'm going on safari tomorrow, right? Just watch a bit of telly just for a while till I go to sleep. Now I've got all the bats and lizards out of my room, right? Black. Head of state, black. Head of health, black. Head of education, black. I sound like a white version of Hamza Useless. That's how it should be. You know, there's no proportional representation anymore. You know, the Puma trackers are taking over, and I'm fucking not happy about it. And I'm ready for war. I am. I'm ready to take some fucking scalps, and I will. Literally, I fucking will. You know. I am a firm believer in an eye for an eye. I am. And I've said before, Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make us all blind. Fuck you, Gandhi. Fuck you. I miss England. I miss it. And it's being tortured at the moment. And the only way to put this right is through us. And we will get the job done. We will. But you've got to get yourselves fit. Get yourselves fit and healthy. I mean, our Ruth, she's eating organic lamb. You posh cow. I wish I liked lamb. I just don't like it. But where my caravan is, the guy that owns all that land, he's a lamb farmer. You know, I can get organic lamb, which is what Ruth did a lovely little video earlier on of what you can get for 70 quid from where she got her organic lamb from. And they're all happy. You know, they've lived a happy life. And when you taste meat that's been happy, you can taste it. You can taste it. And I know that this is really probably quite vomit inducing for vegetarians to hear, and especially vegans, you know, but it's the truth. And I accept that you're a vegetarian. I accept that you're a vegan, even though you probably cheat, you know. You need to accept that we're omnivores or carnivores, you know, it's give and take. But I can get meat dead cheap from this guy because I'm paying him a shitload of money every year to keep my caravan there. So I get mates rates, but I just don't like lamb. I don't like the taste of it. I don't like the smell of it, you know. But it is definitely a good meat to get in and stock up in your freezer because it's such a fatty meat that when you cook it, you get so much fat that comes off it. You can store that fat, and that fat's really, really good for you. It's good because your brain is about an average of 95% cholesterol. So in order for your brain to maintain, you know, I sounded a bit rappy there. In order for your brain to maintain, it needs cholesterol. You know, cholesterol is good for you as long as you stay fit. You know, if you work out and train a little bit, you don't have to go over the top. You know, just keep yourself fit. It's all about the cardio. That's the main thing, your cardio. So maintaining some sort of fitness whilst maintaining a decent amount of cholesterol, that's a marriage made in heaven. It is. Whenever a government turns around and says, oh, it's high in cholesterol, you should be thinking, I'll fucking have it then. I'll have it. How much you got? Now, there is good cholesterol and what's considered to be bad cholesterol. But even that bad cholesterol, you can't live without it. It just needs to be kept at a decent level. And that's what people aren't doing. And the whole MAHA, Make America Healthy thing, I said right from the start, Kennedy is compromised. They've got something on him, right? So now he's really pushing these fat-busting injections that are killing people left, right, and centre. You know? You don't need one of them. You just need to not be a lazy little cunt. It's that simple. Whether you want to hear it or not, it's the truth. These injections are really fucking bad. When all you need to do is get some fucking exercise. Eat less. Eat better. Do more. I know I've said that so many times, but that's it. Those three things. It's so easy. Now, right, I admit that I've got a lack of self-discipline in certain aspects of my life, right? But I'm extremely disciplined in other areas of my life. And the same applies to you. Each individual, you'll have your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, trying to get fit, trying to stay fit and maybe lose a few pounds is a no-brainer, because it makes no difference to me whether or not you're fat as fuck or not. It makes no difference to me if you're chafing halfway up a hill. It makes no difference to me. But I give a fuck. And I know the benefits of getting fit. I know the benefits of how it makes you feel when you get some exercise in. So it's a no-brainer. And I don't push it all the time, but I will push it from time to time because it's important. Don't get a jab of fuck knows what, like a human version of fucking Bovea in your body. You know, we're already getting shitloads of pesticides and herbicides, and we've got the shit being sprayed from the skies coming down. We're breathing that in. That's going into our water supplies, getting into our plants that we're trying to grow to eat in our gardens. We've got enough shit already. Don't have any more put into your fucking body. Fuck's wrong with people? Anyway, Kennedy's pushing that, along with the measles mRNA fucking based jab for children, for babies that can't make their own minds up, relying on the parents to make decisions for them. Oh, fucking hell. Hey! I can't resist it, mate. Here's Johnny. I bet you've not had that about 75,000 times in your life, have you, Johnny? I do apologise, brother. I remember doing the Robin Hood marathon in the 80s. We were given a pork farms. My dad worked at pork farms in the 80s, mate. Yeah, he did. Yeah. We used to get free pork pies. He was bringing them home. I say bringing them home. It was a fucked up situation. He'd been made homeless, so he moved back into the house with me and 4 of my other siblings, because the 5th one wasn't born yet. Well, there's 6 of us all together, but I'm just saying them, excluding me, right? And so he moved into our house with Mum and her husband. It was a very, very strange setup. But anyway, he was working at Pork Farms, and he was bringing pork pies in, because there was a Pork Farms shop. So he used to get them for about 1/5 of what we'd pay for them, next to nothing. He'd bring them all to us, thinking that we were going to get, the kids were going to get them. And Mum used to take him down to the pub and just flog him at the pub without him knowing about it. Oh my God. We were given a Pork Farms pork pie at the finish. Proper food. I tell you what, mate, pure calories, just pure calories, because I think if I did a marathon, at the end of the marathon, one of the 2 things that I would like is either a pork pie or an actual marathon, or Snickers as we call them today, So a marathon is an instant, a little battery boost. And a pork pie is the same, just different, But yeah, he told me some dodgy stories about pork farms, and some people that were kind of disgruntled, and yeah, I don't eat them anymore. Not my cup of tea. And then pork pies used to get like a jelly in there. You get the meat, then the jelly, and then the pastry. You don't get the jelly anymore. And I don't know how I feel about that. I never used to like it. I used to get rid of it. But I feel like I'm getting shortchanged now. Well, not now, because I don't eat it. There was apparently an increase of people with autism since the polio vaccine. Yeah, in the 80s, 90s, only know the outcomes in the following generation. Look, there is 100% a connection. You know it, I know it, right? But you try telling that to someone that's got an autistic kid. You try telling them that there's a connection between childhood jabs, which there are fucking shitloads of now. I know about 2 or 3 when I was a kid. Oh, all right. Sorry, darling. I put the shits up Zephyr for being a bit overactive. But there is definitely 100% a collation there. 100%, you know? And then you can start looking at people in care homes, you know, our elderly, our senior citizens, right? Where in any other culture in Europe, they take them on, you know, it's like, right, we'll move her in and we'll take it in turns to look after her or to look after her, you know. England, let's get them out of the way. Let's put them in a care home. I'd look after my dad. I would. I've been in the care industry. There's not much I haven't done. But yeah, anyway, you go to care homes and, you know, the vast majority of them have got dementia or Alzheimer's. But very few of them have got autism. It's a new thing. So we've got to start looking at what is it? What's changed over the last, say, 30, 40 years that's caused this massive problem, this massive, extremely noticeable problem. And it's a mixture of loads of things. Jabs are one of them, right? The jabs, any sort of inoculation, any kind of vaccination, right? Fuck you, YouTube, right? Any vaccination. It's not meant to go in your body. It's all about the wonga. It's all about making money. That's it. Then your Alzheimer's and your dementia, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is down to these sunflower oil and rapeseed oil and rapeseed oil, cold pressed rapeseed oil is actually quite good for you, but it's expensive. But your average cooking oil, it's only good for either oiling your bike chain or seasoning your cast iron pans. That's it. It shouldn't be used for consumption. It's a waste product. And there's definitely a correlation between these seed oils. Look, right, so even going back, right, let's go back to before we used to have seed oil, the crystal clear, yellowy, oily shit, right? Before then, we had stork margarine, right? That was pumped into everyone's house. It's like, oh no, we can't have butter because it's full of saturated fats. And anyone that knew about that sort of thing back in the day were like, well, your body needs saturated fats. That's the whole point. You need to saturate yourself with it in order for it to help your body. Oh, no. It says here that we need unsaturated, polyunsaturated, you know? And people believed anything that was coming out of that fucking box. Tell lie vision. So, since the introduction of these disgusting, despicable poisons, which are waste products of industry, and they thought, oh, fucking hell, what can we do with all this waste? It's costing us a fortune to get rid of it, put it into barrels and sink it into the bottom of the ocean to kill the fucking fish and the whales. What can we do with it? Let's bottle it up and flog it to the fucking plebs. That's what we'll do. And that's how margarine and all of these seed oils came around. And then this massive influx of dementia and Alzheimer's. Because with butter, proper butter, with lard, proper lard, with proper dripping, right? You've got cholesterol, which is what your brain needs. You take away that cholesterol, which is what your brain is 95% of. Your brain's going to start to deteriorate. That's why they see these big, massive black patches in their brains. They get bigger and bigger. So that's because of a lack of cholesterol. They're killing us softly. And not just us, the people we love. So we get a top up. But yeah, you try finding one autistic person in a care home and get back to me. And then have a look at the percentage of children in England today that have some form of autism. They're on the spectrum some way, somehow. Look at the percentage. Kennedy is a cunt and an enemy of the people. But I do believe, I really do genuinely, honestly believe that more and more and more people are sitting back and thinking, hold on a fucking minute. They said that they would release the Epstein files, the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files, the Drain the Swamp, Make America Healthy Again. Where do you want me to stop? You know, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. They've done fuck all. Nothing. Right? I can end all the wars in the world in 24 hours if when I get in, no problem. Because there's only one person that can do that, and that's me. Right, okay. Is the Ukraine war over now? No. Right? In fact, if anything, we've got more fucking wars. More. He's not a peacetime president. He's a cunt. A cunt with an ego. I would love to know what they've got. You know, this is all Israel. This is Mossad. You know, they're dirty little bastards. They really are. You know, because Mossad's always had a different approach towards the manipulation of government officials and politicians. A completely different approach. The honey trap approach, for example, right? Now, if a politician is going to fall for a honey trap anyway, right? Then they weren't fit for purpose to start with, because they would never have put themselves in that position. But most politicians fit a certain, you know, they tick certain shitty fucking boxes, because there aren't any decent politicians left anymore. They're all narcissists, all of them. Now, there are obviously still a lot of very, very stupid fucking people out there, you know. And then you've got your MAGA crowd that are diehard Trump supporters, right? So, like, American equivalent of Tommy Tards. Now, but I do think that the vast majority of people out there are starting to see what's what. Because unless you are fully fucking 24 karat gold retarded, you've got to be seeing something or questioning something. So you would have had to have been semi-retarded to vote Labour, right? Regardless of what your reasoning was, it's like, I'm voting Labour because I don't want Tories to get back in, right? I'm voting Labour because I've never voted Labour before and I don't want the Green Party to get in, or this or that. Whatever your fucking excuse was, right? There's got to be some sort of retardation in there for you to vote Labour, to get Labour in, right? And then there has to be a little tiny bit of retardation if you were that much of a fucking sucker and still are believing that reform is a thing, right? Now, so many reform supporters are now thinking, hold on a minute. And then the divvy retarded Labour supporters are now sat back thinking, hold on a minute. People are waking up. There's no stopping the waking up. It's just that some people woke up faster than others. Some people woke up differently than others. Some people are waking up at different stages and different paces than others. But people are waking up. It's an absolute inevitability. And that's why I think all of this is happening, because you see, I don't think the waking up process is entirely down to years and years of corruption and manipulation of the people and the enslavement of people. I don't think it's entirely down to that. I think there's definitely something a lot more complicated than that. That's waking lots and lots of people up and continuing to do so. So I believe that that's why all of this is happening, because it's been timed with a great awakening. There are lots of theories out there as to why people are waking up and starting to see the light, the real light, the true light for the first time in their life. Lots of theories, including light. Seeing the light because of the light. So, always going woo-woo. Let me peg this one at you, okay? And again, it's just a theory. I've got no proof. I've got no evidence. So everyone's saying that the sun used to be more yellow, a bit more golden, right? And I remember drawing pictures as a kid, as I was developing art and stuff like that. And every kid drew a yellow sun, right? The sun's very white now. Oh, Hamza fucking used to love that. Sun, white. So imagine that if the light that was right, photons that come from the sun, right? Photons is information, right? Light is information. A good example of that is they've introduced something called Light-Fi, right? Instead of Wi-Fi, Light-Fi. So it's Wi-Fi, but even quicker, but more dangerous. Okay, so Light-Fi is a real thing. So they're able to transfer incredible amounts of information through light, artificially. Where do you think they got that idea from? Do you think it just popped in their heads? Or do you think it's possible that they realized that there was information in photons that come from the sun that's now changed, right? So what's to say that every cycle, few thousand year cycle, 10,000 year cycle, 20,000 year cycle, the sun changes to the point where the photons change, and our bodies, because we're walking solar panels. What do you think vitamin D is? It's not a fucking vitamin. So we're absorbing these photons into our bodies, and it's doing something, So this is just a theory, but it's quite a popular theory that's becoming more and more popular. Just saying. Vitamin D is a hormone, not a vitamin. And it's a hormone that we need the sun to help us to produce. I don't know why I did that. I've not got moobs anymore. They're all right, actually. I could do with a bit more work on them, but not bad. And I'm one of the few people in the world that can go from photons to moobs and back to photons again. You're very lucky tonight, So that could be a possible explanation, but it's an explanation that doesn't fall in line with conventional science. And there's so much knowledge and information out there that we're not privy to, stuff that they would have found in Mesopotamia and Egypt and loads of places around the world. You know, hidden technology, hidden information, hidden knowledge, hidden wisdom, you know, that we're not privy to yet, you know, or maybe never will be. We don't know. We don't know until we get to the Vatican, fucking smash our way through and go underground and have a look around, you know. This is stuff that's there for humanity, not for some creepy fucking pope. But I do think photons could be the reason why, or the change in the sun could be the reason why people are waking up. And again, I know how stupid that might sound to some people, and I would understand that, because it's beyond the realm of what we were taught at school and the lifelong indoctrination that so many people have had to endure and absorb. Sometimes you need to think outside the box to find the answers. I've always said that. I never thought I'd say it about the sun or the Great Awakening. But, you know, it is called the Great Awakening. Why is it? Why are we experiencing a Great Awakening at the same time as every single government of every single country, bar a couple, right, are imposing so much control over their people at the same time? There's got to be a rational, but then it's like, where are your parameters of what rational means? How far out are you prepared to think? Parachute mind. Never forget that. The mind's always best like a parachute, always best open. Don't allow, again, this is one particular bit of advice that 9 times out of 10 I do take on. I do, because I've said it to you and it's helped me absorb so much information without it getting me down, without it affecting me too much, without it without it getting the better of me. By allowing loads of information to go into your head but not latching onto any of it, just letting it float around. Let it float around. Don't latch onto it. Just keep from when I wake up in the morning, right, I give myself a little bit of a break. I have a cup of tea, have a look out the bedroom window at all of the different colours and stuff. Now it's autumn and all that, right? And then I'm straight on it. Podcast after podcast, and then YouTube video, and then X, and then this, and then that. And I'm taking information in all day, every single day, from when I wake up pretty much to when I go to bed. I am trying to take a slow down period before I go to bed now. I've taken a leaf out of one of our lovely lot's book, and it just seems to be helping. I'm using candles more instead of having LED lights on in the bedroom. Things like that. All these little things, they all help. I've got more tea lights than the average tea light fucking factory, right? But I'm going through them at the moment because it's natural light. This LED light that's shining my face now, which is why I've got these blue light blocking lenses on, right, is actually a strobe. But it's the strobe is so fast that our frame rate of our eyes isn't picking it up. On top of the fact that it's giving off a really, really unhealthy frequency, light's frequency. And that's not good for us. It's really not good for us. And my skin's still, you know, picking up on that light. Got to watch these two because they're both on heat. Storm gets very needy. Zephyr gets very angry. You know, the female of the species, when it's that time of the month, it's like, shall I ask her if she wants a cup of tea, or shall I just go and fucking hide somewhere for a week? I've been quite lucky, you know. I have been quite lucky in that department. But we as blokes, it's like, oh, we don't know whether we're coming or going with these bloody women when it's that time of the month, when we should be thinking about how they're feeling as well, you know. It's affecting them more than it's affecting us. Let me catch up. Both my stepkids have autism. Neither got COVID jab. Yeah, but so for starters, Jordan, I didn't mean any offence, and I never mean any offence. I think you've watched me and listened to me waffle on enough to know that I'm not like that, right? Because we had a conversation about 6 months ago about autism and its connection with childhood vaccinations, just childhood jabs, right? And there was someone in the chat, a lady that had a child that was heavily autistic. I think she had two actually that were autistic, and I'd made a very similar statement to what I'm making now that I stand by. And she just took it the wrong way, and I wasn't having a go at her. You know, I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be understanding, trying to be cautious and careful with her, just so that I didn't, because you know, again, I've not got kids, right? But I know that if one of them, because my brother's son, my nephew, he's autistic, and he blames it on childhood vaccinations. And all I'm saying is that it would be, if you love your kids, and I'm sure you do, because I pick up on vibes about people, and I know you're a good man, Jordan, but it would be very, very difficult for a parent that loves their children to be able to comprehend that they might be responsible in some way by allowing their children to be vaccinated in the first place. And that's a really tough thing to say to you. I'm just being honest. That's all. That's all. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean the COVID, whatever, that fucking mad, crazy, fucked up, mad science and shit, that is crazy juice. The COVID nightmare stuff, that I do believe that, you know, everyone in our little tribe, that anyone that did, you know, have one or two probably had saline, because I've had no feedback from anyone saying that they're suffering or anything, and I hope that they would speak out, because they know that it would go no further than me, you know. I don't even mention names of people that I know that are jabbed in our little tribe, because it's just not right to do. Something keeps flying around my face, and I've had a bath. TV programming, possibly. I do think that might be. No, I don't think that would cause autism. Programming is definitely a thing, you know. And I'm 53, you know. I've had programming from the first time I started watching the telly. Yeah, I'm not programmed. There might be certain elements of me that I'm still kind of breaking out of, that I'm not aware of, but I'm certainly not programmed now. And just like most of you guys, I was a rebel at school because I never fitted in. Or I don't relate to any of this shit, you know? And our critical minds just continued and continued and continued to develop. Right up until our mid to late 20s. And then it's all about education, because your brain's fully developed then by that age. Then it gets on, you go on to learning more and more about life and, you know, more significant aspects of life than you would have thought about when you were a kid. So I don't think TV programming could ever be a cause of autism, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Any thoughts on the keto diet? I've never done it, Johnny. There seems to have been some people that seem to have really benefited from it, and some people that haven't, you know, and that's because we're all made different, we're all designed different, we're all built differently, you know. I mean, for example, there are some people, so you've got different blood groups. There's a blood group that's quite high in copper. There's a blood group that's actually quite high in gold. So have you ever seen the Eddie Murphy film Golden Child, right? So if you've got a child that's born with that in that blood group, it's literally a fucking golden child. And then you've got iron, and then you've got different types of blood types that where you would say, if you were a blood type that doesn't have that much copper, you'd probably benefit from buying a solid copper mug, and filling that up with water and taking that to bed with you and just drinking it during the night, and you'll get, you know, traces of copper into your blood, into your body. Or you can buy a copper pan set. You know, they're not cheap, but it's your health. So we're all different. We're all different, and a keto diet might suit someone and not another. It's hit and miss, mate, because we're all so genetically different, and it's a trial and error thing. Personally, I think variety is a spice of life. I think eating good quality meat and good quality vegetables and good quality fruit. And if you get those three quality things, that's all of your minerals taken care of, and your salts taken care of as well. That's all done. It's all done for you. But we're at the moment, because the fruit, the veg, and the meat that we're buying, and we you know, within our budget, is so shit that we're having to subsidize it with homemade supplements and homemade fucking tinctures and stuff like that, just to make up for what we're missing out of. But then I do eat foraged food as well, you know, because look, there's more and more and more and more evidence as each day passes that they are creating fake food, right? There's loads of videos going around, and it all seems very, very legitimate to me. So if you can build up your foraging skills get out there, start being able to identify as many edible plants as possible. And then knowing a bit more about certain plants and knowing that you can eat, they're all right to eat this time of year and that time of year, and certain edible plants that need to be cooked down to make them edible, and certain edible forageable plants that you can pick, and then you need to put them in cold water to leach the tannins out before you can even go anywhere near them. Just building up that sort of knowledge, you get out there and you know that fucking food is real. More real than anything you can buy in a shop, because you can trust it. Because you've taken it directly from its natural place. You've taken it from where it chose to grow and thrive. So just think, one thing to bear in mind, I can't speak highly enough about the importance of learning to forage. It could save your life. No offense taken. That's it. We don't know the true effect. My partner on the same page. God, that's good to know, Jordan. It is, because you don't want that kind of conflict going on in a relationship, especially when there's kids involved. Especially when there's kids involved when they're on the spectrum somewhere. A lot of people like to say, especially when there's kids involved that have got problems, right? I've got a lot of theories on autism. You see, the brain's so fucking complex. What's to say? So there are examples of kids going to places like where the architecture is so mind-blowing, like say somewhere like Prague, for example, right? Or Bologna in Italy. You go somewhere like that and have a look around, right? And it's like, fuck me. And you can get kids that are completely non-verbal. They can walk, they can walk, they can breathe, they can eat, but they're completely non-verbal. No, nothing. And you've got other kids that can verbalize certain words sometimes, but usually noises. And they need to be prompted to eat, might need, again, assistance to go to the toilet, stuff like that. But there'll be a certain element about them that is fucking mind-blowing, right? And then, again, kids that come back from Prague or Bologna, for example, just given two places, and they'll have looked at a building and they'll come back and they'll draw that building to perfection. Every single minute detail, right? So what's to say that some of these kids that are on the spectrum have been triggered into another level of evolution with their minds? So take these non-verbal kids that can have a photographic memory and then come back and then be so talented to draw it down to minute specifications, right? What's to say that they are non-verbal, right? Because I've come across this. They're non-verbal, completely non-verbal, because in their minds, they don't need to speak because they're trying to speak to you with their minds. So they've got telepathic abilities, but you haven't. So it's a one-way conversation. Just a theory. But it's a theory that's shared by quite a few people. And I'm one of them. We're so complex. We're so complex, incredibly complex, and we've just built our full potential has been enslaved. It's been kept weighted down by the world, this artificial world. We're not meant to live like this. And I do genuinely believe that there have been several civilizations before us that have been out there, they've sussed it. And then there's probably been some sort of cataclysm and we've been reset to some degree, but that knowledge has been kept alive somewhere. It's just that we're not privy to it now. So it's literally down to our own legwork and our own effort and our own elbow grease to figure it out and try and find our own way with open minds. Well, that's just me. Sound advice, mate. Good balanced diet is the key. It is, Johnny. It really is. They say eat the rainbow. Try and eat the rainbow. Now, those flags taste horrible. I hope at least a couple of people got that. Oh dear. Or I've not got a step ladder high enough. Anyway, I did post a video today, and in the comment section I put a pinned video of what's good to plant this time of year, and beetroot's up there, and that's an example of eating the rainbow, you know. So get green, red. Again, we used to rely on seasonal stuff, but now we get so much stuff imported that we can cheat a little bit really by eating the rainbow all year round, where it's about sourcing it from good places. And again, forage. You can't get more organic than forage food. You can't. I think the same. Where most people are quite average with most things. If an autistic person gets their mind on something, they can excel. Yeah, I totally agree. I've seen it, you know. And I have met autistic men my age and older because I've worked with them. I used to work for Mencat for 17 years. That's where I met Sal. And I can remember I was supporting a couple of blokes to this little gathering, little party thing. It was someone's party. And I'm sat down with Steve. Won't give his full name out. And I'm talking to Steve, who's quite limited in what the kind of communication and conversation you could have with him. But I'd known him long enough that we work well together, right? So I'm talking, next thing you know, I've got this tap on my shoulder and I'm like looking around and I'm looking up. This guy must be about fucking 7 foot tall. I'm like, the fuck? He was about 6'6", 6'7", something like that. I wasn't 7 foot. But he was very imposing, you know, and I'm sat down. And he looks really fucking angry. But apparently that's just the way he looks all the time. He's not angry. He just looks angry, right? So I've got this 6'6", 6'7", angry looking fucker, like looming down on me like that. So it was a very, very, this is getting somewhere. It's relevant, right? And he leaned down, right? And he said, what year were you born? So I told him, right? And then he said, what was your birthday? And I told him. But it was a very quick succession of questions and a very quick succession of answers. It was very fast, you know, because it was very straightforward. Because I obviously knew the fucking answers to the question. But within a split second, and I mean a fucking split second of me finishing telling him my birthday, he told me what day I was born on. He'd made that calculation within a split second. And I made a mental note of it because I'm thinking, I don't remember what fucking day I was born on. I know it ended with Y. That's it, you know? But when I got home, I looked into it. And you know what? It was fucking spot on. How do you explain that? How do you explain people being able to make calculations that fast in their heads? So then you start looking at people like Nikola Tesla. He was autistic. He was on the spectrum, right? So I'm not saying that all kids that have got autism are all autistic because of the jabs. I'm just saying that, and in my opinion, the majority of them are. The majority. And I'm also saying that in the majority of all cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, you know? But I also look at it from the other angle by thinking chances are that, you know, a lot of the autistic kids that I've worked with and met, they don't do the whole eye contact thing, and it's very, you know, everything's very concise and very to the point, and there's no kind of gentle conversation flowing around, you know. So that's going to affect their love life, you know, relationships, having a normal, what we would consider to be a normal, conventional relationship. Chances are that they're probably not going to be having kids, probably, you know, not in all cases, but in most. So that element of life that we take for granted, you know, those beautiful elements of life, are not going to be available to most of the people that have got autism, or children that are going to grow up to be adults with autism, you know. So there's loads of different ways, lots of different angles to look at this. Loads. Oh, Ruth, don't be shy. Oh, I wish I'd seen the messages before you retracted them. You know, you can always speak freely here, and I apologise if I've offended you by saying anything that, you know, just being honest about stuff, that's all. Yeah, I wish I'd read them. There is a little lad who lives at the back, can tell you what day your birthday will land on each year. He is autistic. Amazing gift. See, amazing. Just fucking mind blowing. Literally, little boy. No, my typing skills are crap. Just deleted and started again. Oh, fair enough, Ruth. Fair enough. Just checking. That's all. But thank you for that. For that little comment there. You know, it's made me smile, because it's true. There are so many gifted children out there. But then, what's to say that say as a developing young human, right, a child, right, that you've got, most kids have got a chunk of this, a chunk of that, chunk of this, a chunk of that chunk of this, chunk of that, chunk of this. You get the idea. Loads and loads and loads of chunks, maybe even hundreds, right? And each one is a different aspect of your personality. all gone from one massive block of something, spread out into all these little chunks that make your personality. Now, some people will have a bigger chunk of that original block that makes you really good at maths, but really shit at socializing, right? Because your socializing block is the size of a speck of dust, right? But your mathematic side chunk is, you all get an equal amount, but it's all spread out in different amounts that build personality. I hope this is making sense to some of you. Please let me know if it's not. And I think that's kind of how we're sort of made. We've got this block of something at conception, and then it's just divided up into different elements. And you've got big, massive chunks of that block that make up this element of your personality and the way that you are, your overall makeup, you know. And then you've got tiny amounts of this. You get people that have got loads of ambition, and their blocks are fucking massive, right? So big that their empathy is like a speck of this. Their block of empathy is like a speck of dust. That's a narcissist. See, do you get what I mean about my take on how complex we are? And I love analogies, and I've always loved that analogy because it kind of explains us a little bit, you know, in a very extremely non-scientific way, but a way that it makes sense in my head. So if you shut down your speech, right? So say tomorrow, God forbid, right? Say tomorrow one of you goes blind, right? Within about a month or so, your other four senses will have heightened to make up for the loss of that one sense of sight, right? So what's to say that if a child is non-verbal, their ability to speak block of what we all get, right, is a speck of dust, right? But their ability to picture something and then come home and draw it, their block's massive, because they don't need speech. It's irrelevant. They're not interested. The way they're wired up, they're just interested in architecture and art, you know. And then there are kids out there that can play fucking Mozart within a couple of days, but they might be missing something that's helped them make up for that ability to play Mozart, you know. Whoa. Find the key to unlock the mind. That's the problem though, Jordan, is that people like you, people like me, you know, we would, if we had the ability to do that, we would do it in a very benevolent way, you know, to try and bring the best out of everyone, you know, to try and get everyone we come into contact with to reach their full potential, you know. But there are some evil, twisted cunts in this world that have also got that knowledge and that ability and that wisdom, and they're using it nefariously in a very, very malevolent way on us. So again, this is what's happening, you know. This is good versus evil. We're the good, and we've got one hell of a fight on our hands. But again, if I didn't think we could win, I'd tell you. As hard as it would be, you know, not wanting to kind of like, we're in a world where people are looking for solutions and hope and silver linings to help them get them through the fucking day. Someone comes around that they've been listening to for a while and says, look, we are fucked. We are fucked. You know? I would hate to be one of them, but I would be one of them if that was the truth, and it's not. We will prevail, but it's going to be hard. Really hard. But I think you all know it is, you know. So that's half the battle. It really is half the battle. Maybe even more than half the battle. But I agree with that, Jordan. I think it's a very, very lovely sentiment. And if only more people would put more time and more effort into bringing the best out in the people around them, instead of just being so ridiculously fucking selfish. Because that's I see a lot of that, a lot, you know. Even little things like just letting people out at junctions and holding doors open for people, and just little things, loads of little things, just simple things that are normal for us, normal things for us. But unfortunately, the rest of the world isn't like us, and we've sure paid the fucking price for that over the last 5-6 years. But we're still here, aren't we? Talk to me. I can appreciate that sometimes you just like to just listen, and I get that. But sometimes it's nice to just get a bit of interaction with you guys, because it will make the live streams go longer if I can bounce off you. Because I'll just get loads off my chest whilst interacting with you, and we put the world to rights, maybe have a little bit of a giggle along the way. But then I do struggle a little bit when I start to kind of ease up a little bit and ask questions, anything you like, anything. If I don't know the answer, I'll have an opinion, you know. One way or the other, you'll get an answer. So ask away. Oh, and when I went on that little recce to try and find somewhere, oh yeah, get this. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So when I did that food prep haul from Farm Foods and B&M Bargains, whilst waiting for my phone to be repaired, when I was putting all the shopping back into the car, I was up against a bush, right? And I just said, excuse me, love, can you pull your trousers back up? Ah, terrible joke. So anyway, someone at some point had bought a load of shopping and then loaded it into their car. And they bought this and put it onto the curb next to the bush. So it just kind of blended in, if you like. And then obviously just left it there. It's been there for a while, right? So I thought, I'll have it, because otherwise it's not going to survive there. You know? Look at this. So I stuck it in my boot. It had been there for ages. You could tell it had been there for ages, you know? A £17, well on its way, beautiful white grapevine. So that was one of the reasons why this plant is one of the reasons why I went on that recce, to find a place where I could maybe grow a few more things and just go to and from it without anyone realizing I'm growing food there. You know, really well thought out plants, food, really well thought out, to the point where to the onlooker, it would have been, all they would have seen is maybe the apple tree, definitely not the pear tree. And it's a challenge to get to it, right? Well, that was this grapevine was the reason why I went on the recce, because I need to find somewhere to plant it, because there's nowhere in my garden left that can sustain a fucking grapevine. Grapevines aren't little tiny little plants, you know. They can get extremely carried away. They'll fucking take over the world if you let them. And I've already got a grapevine in the garden. So I needed to find somewhere for this. And when I went there, I spotted lots and lots of other potential little bits and bobs that I could grow up there. And a perfect place for that to grow. So I can go up there because it needs pretty much full sun. You know, grapevines love full sun. Sun or just partial shade. And I found the perfect place for it. Anyway, right, so after posting that, someone left a comment in the video, right, recommending a book. So I then, because I'm sure you saw in that video that I posted, it was a little bit, you know, there were trees and stuff. It was a little bit shaded. So I'd really, apart from right back up against, I don't want to say any more, right? Because guerrilla gardening it's very important that you're very, very discreet about it. Otherwise, what's the point? And I'm running a YouTube channel that's public. So this is going to do okay, right? But there was a lot of other areas that were very shaded. So my concern obviously was like, what the fuck can I grow up here? Because there's, you know, it's going to get dappled sunlight, you know, it's I think it was Stephen, but I can't remember his second name. But he's one of our little tribe. You know, he's a regular in the comments section from time to time. And he recommended a book on vegetables that you can grow in woodland, right? So I had a look into it first, and I bought it. I thought, fuck me, you know. And then I thought about Lana, because I know that Lana's got big like fully grown conifers, like big fuck off tall trees that are evergreen. So shaded garden, a lot of it shaded, you know, for most of the year. So to utilize those shaded areas, this book is perfect. It's perfect, and it's on its way, you know. Right, just bear with me. Let me just find what it's called. And maybe you can look it up, because if you've got a garden that's got loads of shade, again, there'll be people thinking, I don't want to be talking about this shit. I want to be talking about war. Well, it is a predominantly prepping channel, and things like this needs to be pointed out, you know, because we need to find solutions. I'll tell you exactly what it's called. Oh, I bought so many seeds today based on that video that I've uploaded about plants that will still grow and give you food during winter, throughout winter. You know, we need to be getting our heads around that, being able to continue to grow as much organic food as we possibly can, whether it's on your windowsills or in your garden, or guerrilla gardening. Take advantage of it. The book's called Creating a Forest Garden, working with natural to grow edible crops. Working with nature. Sorry, these aren't my reading glasses. Working with nature to grow edible crops, right? Creating a Forest Garden by Martin Crawford, right? So I paid £8 for that, right? But some sellers were selling it for 30, 35 quid. So I was doing some proper, I'm not paying that, or I'll wait for it to come down, you know. So that's going to be a really, really, really impressive book, because I've also got a patch of garden at the bottom of the garden that gets very little sunlight, almost like woodland. And I need to know what crops I can grow in there, because I need to utilize every single available fucking millimeter of my garden and my house to grow my own food from heirloom seeds or saved seeds. I just grow what I can inside the house, continue to grow whatever I can outside of the house, which will surprise you at how much you can grow this time of year and through winter. You know, everyone's thinking, that's it, we're fucked now. We've got to get all our veg from the supermarkets. You know, never ever be defeatist, ever, especially when it comes to food. Hostas are edible. Are they? I've got 2 hostas in the garden. They were sells babies, you know. And you know, when there's been raining and rainwater lands on the leaves, and it's got loads and loads of these tiny fine hairs. So all of the water is like perfect little beads of glass. Beautiful. Thirsty though. They're a thirsty plant though, Ruth. But I didn't know they were edible. Part of the asparagus family, apparently, and don't mind shade. Now, these are both in shade. The young shoots are a delicacy in Japan. Yeah, but so are fucking dogs. You're bringing the best out of me, Ruthie. You always do, sweetheart. But the slugs like them too. Yeah, but fortunately, because I've built 2 ponds. Good night, Jordan. I'm sorry. I apologise, brother. I'm slow at getting down there. You know how I am. You know, but it's good. Good. Thanks for joining us, mate. You know, it was. It got us spurred down some very, very interesting avenues of conversation. So thank you. Much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one. Sleep well. Yeah, because I built 2 ponds. I've got smooth newts, you know. So I've got smooth newts that eat slugs and small snails. And then I get hedgehogs, and they eat slugs and snails. So I've created a really, really nice balance in the garden, because I knew what needed to grow. Because you need small sort of, you know, small stuff growing, small shrubs, then your larger shrubs, and then trees. 3 levels, right? And you wouldn't believe the diversity of life that 3 level will bring into your garden. So you're promoting insect life by giving them cover, and then you're promoting bird life, and then everything else seems to come along. So you add a couple of ponds in there, and you're adding aquatic life, and somewhere for other types of wildlife, like foxes, for example, and hedgehogs to come into your garden on hot summer nights to drink from a guaranteed water source that's there every single year. They map it out in their heads, you know. So I don't have a massive problem with slugs and snails in my garden anymore, because there seems to be some sort of equilibrium that's been struck just by making a wildlife friendly garden whilst still trying to grow crops without them being fucking ate and destroyed. So, but yeah, I didn't know that about hostas. You know, all that time I've been looking at those beautiful, beautiful plants out there that come back every year, and I've never looked at them as food. But Sal was very sentimental for them, so I probably can't eat them. And besides, think about this, Ruth. So you've got aloe vera plants, right? And with a little tiny bit of processing, not much, right? You've got that jelly, that see-through jelly in the middle that's exceptionally good for you, right? But there are some aloe vera plants that are poisonous to humans. So what's to say that there aren't some edible hostas and some that aren't? I've not looked into it, but it's got my attention. And again, it's something I didn't know. I didn't know that. See, we learn from each other. I love that. Are you finding different routes to it so as not to make a path straight to it? I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Wow, it's not that simple. It's discreet enough. And I always make sure that no one's looking. To get to where it is, I would be able to see 200, maybe 150 yards on one path, and then about 75, 80 yards on another path to see if anyone is converging on me before I go down somewhere else to then get to where I need to get. So there's no way anyone would see me up there. And I think the chances of anyone, it's hard to explain, Michael, but it's as far as I'm concerned, it's good to go. It's prime, you know. And there's another spot as well that's the other end, right at the other end. But I think that's going to take some like proper, you know, I'm going to have to use this. I might need to use this. To get through, you know, which is a good thing, because if it's semi-impassable for me, it's not going to be very inviting for anyone else. Do you know what I mean? So there is another spot I've got my eye. I need to try and take full advantage of where I can grow food. That's the whole point of what I'm saying here, is learn to forage and guerrilla garden if you can, to expand your own growing capabilities outside of your own garden, you know, because we're all limited for space. I haven't got 4 fucking acres. I reckon I could make 2 acres work for me. Food, as in meat and eggs and vegetables and fruit. 2 acres, I could do that. I could sustain, no problem. But who can afford 2 acres of land in England? So we have to make use of other land. You know, I mean, you can grow stuff where you are in your local park. There's certain things that you can grow. You might not be able to grow much. You can still expand, you know, and grow stuff that people won't even recognise as food. You'll be good to go. Especially stuff like garlic. People just think, oh, daffodils are coming up early. Well, they don't have a fucking clue. Most people. So you can grow garlic. I mean, garlic will grow anywhere, you know. It's one of the most beneficial things you can ever grow, ever. I can't think of anything it's not good for. Good idea there, Michael. Not the same path all the time. Yeah, there is a certain bit I've got no choice with, you know, but it's about scope. It's about spatial awareness and making sure no one's seeing you at the time, and hoping that whilst you're up there, you're staying quiet and no one goes up there whilst you're up there. But if you knew the situation, you'd know that that's not really, it's not really that, it's not much, it's not a concern. It took a long time to get to, it's not a concern. Just loads of talking in tongues. What the fuck? I don't know, Michael, if a tobacco plant would grow up there, because they really do like the sun, but then they don't really like direct, proper, full-on, hardcore heat rays, you know, constantly all day long. They're not keen on that. They get a bit floppy, you know. They like partial shade. They do like a bit of a break, you know. But this just where I'm going to plant the grapevine. That's the only spot where I might be able to fit one or two in there, but maybe. But then I want to utilize it for food. You know, I can grow enough tobacco in pots in my garden. It's not a problem, as long as I can access water and I've got a river at the bottom of the road. So, it sounds ideal. Don't give too much info right now. No, I won't, mate. I won't. It's too important. You call that a knife? This is a fucking knife. And I tell you what, it's so sharp. I wonder if I can do a little demo, but not on me. What's in there? I'll read that later. I hope this doesn't turn out shit and you end up bored. 1, 2. Pretty straight cut. It's see there. It is sharp. It did have a tip on it to protect the sheath as it goes in. Did you know the origins of the word cunt is actually from a sheath for a dagger? The origins. You look at you might need to go back a little bit, you know, back to when facts were written down and not bullshit propaganda and fake histories, right? But yeah, it was a sheath for a dagger that was made from animal fur. So you kind of get how they got from to cunt, you know, full of useless information. Me, you know, I'm one of these people. It's like, what if they throw any? We've got the pub quiz tonight. What if they throw loads of fucking curveball questions out there that no one knows fuck all about because it's so random? Let's get Terry. Oh dear. Anyway, some tastier than others. So have you tried some, Ruth? I wonder what they taste like. I can't imagine what they taste like because they are quite. I wonder if cabbage, right? I was thinking cabbage. You see, I start asking you questions that you've already answered in that fucking comment that I'm actually reading at the time. I do my own editing. I understand not wanting to eat it though. Yeah, it's not right. It's not. It's like beef in black bean sauce, chicken chow mein, chicken tikka masala, hosta. It's not. But but I might give it a go one year. I might give hosta a go. Hosta and chips. Hey Terry, what? What'd you have last night? I had fray in it. What's the fray? Fray bed sauce pie, man. You've been under a fucking rock. What did you have with it? Hosta. What? Hosta. Fuck's that? Don't know. Some lady on the internet said it was all right to eat, and that's why I ate it. Ruth, see what you can do with this live stream. Have a play around with it, take the highlights, send it to me, and I'll put it out in the shorts, just so we can hopefully put a few smiles on a few faces, because I think it's nice. We're living through very, very strange times, very strange. Everything's so fucked up. But we're all hanging in there. We're having moments, we might have times and moments from time to time where we feel like we're struggling a little bit, things maybe getting a little bit on top of us, whether it's kind of socially or financially or spiritually, it doesn't matter. It still gets on top of us. We're only human, it's just that we're tougher than the average human because we're preppers. But we're not impenetrable. So it's important that we do have little breaks now and then and have a bit of a crack, a bit of escapism. And I'm so glad that I did a live stream tonight. I've benefited from it, and I hope you have as well. So just know that you're appreciated. Michael, are you laughing at Fray Bentos pie and Hosta? Do you not get that on like menus in Birmingham? Is that not a thing in Birmingham? Is that just a long eating thing? Fuck, we're so weird. Oh my God. I need to move to Birmingham and get sane. Do your own research. As you know, Ruth, the term "do your own research" is actually a life-saving fucking phrase, because you turn around to someone and go, right, that tub of ghee you've got there unopened will last you maybe 25, 30 years, right? So they go home, open it, right? Peel it back, get a knife in there, spread it on some toast, lick the knife, put another little bit from out of the tub on the toast, another slice of toast, lick the knife, put the foil back over, put the plastic little tub lid back on, right? Put it away, right? Get it out. 6 months later, do the same thing again and end up with the shits because of the cross-contamination of them being a dirty little cunt, right? And then they blame me. I don't like that, Terry. He said that the ghee can last for 25 years and I got the shits. He's a bastard. I've unsubscribed. That's what we're up against. People not using common sense. And There's a common sense drought in the world at the moment, and we're a reservoir. That gravelly voice hurts my throat. But that's Vera. I've not done Vera for a while, but then neither is Frank. Oh my God. I hope so. I hope so, Michael. You know, yeah. I think they're better when I don't think so much. You know, just go with the flow. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll be doing any more like 4 or 5 hour. I'll probably stick to around 2. Fuck me, we've gone nearly 3.5 hours in. I didn't realise. See, sometimes it just flows, and you lose track of time. But you're losing track of time for positive reasons, you know, as opposed to the fact that lots and lots of people now, more and more people are now asking if time is speeding up, because everyone's kind of noticing that that does seem to be the case, you know. Could that be something to do with CERN? You know, we just don't know. I think my go-to point of blame would be CERN. But no one's got any definitive answers. No one, you know, there's not actually anyone out there that's turning around and saying, actually, this it's this, and this is why. You know, no one's saying anything. So we've not got anything to go on. It's all guesswork. But it does feel like, I mean, they say that time goes slower as a child, right? But it speeds up as an adult because you're still busy in your mind. But with stressful shit, as opposed to most kids, they're just observing and taking the world in, you know, and absorbing. But that theory between older people and young people, I'm not going with that theory. I'm not going with that theory at all. So I'd love to know what your theories are on that, or whether or not you even think that time's going faster. Because to some people, time's going. It depends on what you're doing and where you are and who you're with. You know, but I think on an average, time does seem to be speeding up. I read a story earlier on of these monks that they light a candle when it goes to dusk at specific these candles, and that's what I'm saying. There is an art to making candles, right? That I'm just making for practical reasons as nice gifts. That's it, right? But they can make them so that they last exactly 10 hours. So it'll go out like 20 seconds either side of that 10 hours being up. They've got the art down that well at making candles. A 10-hour candle lasts for 10 hours, right? And this, I can't remember where this. I can't even remember. I wouldn't even know where to try and find where I found that story, right? But it was very interesting. Whether it's true or not is another question. But it just seemed very believable and feasible that they have candles that last a certain amount of time over the winter period and then the summer period, you know, shorter, smaller ones for the summer period. No electricity, that's what I'm saying, right? So their only light source was candles. And there were certain, so that they basically said that candles that they were lighting at a certain time of the evening when the sun had gone down. So let's take the equinox, for example, right? So the sun sets at a specific time and it rises at a certain time for the spring, the summer, the winter, you know. And the candles were still burning long after the sun had come up. How long it didn't specify. But I found that interesting. I think it's quite a difficult experiment to pull off that, because I've just bought, I don't know if I've got them down here, but I don't need to show you them, you know. You know what a fucking 8-hour candle is. So if you light an 8-hour candle, right, first thing in the morning when you get up, and time it, right, and see how long it takes to go out. But then you're going to be a slave to a fucking candle for the last hour of its life, keeping an eye on it, nipping back in to see if it's gone out, and then time it, and then do the same thing the following day, taking into account the reduction or increase of sunlight, which is approximately 2 minutes, something like that. So it's almost an impossible experiment for the lay, for people like me, to pull off, because there's no way, because you're not going to get all. I think you can get one 8-hour candle from the same pack and another 8-hour candle from the same pack. One will burn for 7.5 hours and one will burn for 8. So there's nothing that you can rely on to create the perfect experiment. But if you had the skills to make these candles like they did, and I know that does exist, I know it does. They used to tell time by candles. The Victorians used to use time candles. So how do you tell? How can we, with what we've got, I haven't got any super sensitive equipment apart from down there. Oh dear. We just don't know how we can measure time. But I do believe it's speeding up, and I don't know about you guys, but I do believe it's speeding up, you know, which isn't good really, you know. I've got too much shit to do. Oh man. I'm going to draw this this very, very lovely, light-hearted and very enjoyable live stream to an end, because it's been nice, you know, and it's only midnight, and yeah, I think moving forward, I think quality over quantity is probably better, you know, because it takes a while for us to rev up, and then we rev up, and then we just plateau, you know, on a lovely level. But I think when I start to get tired, I feel like I waffle shit, you know, and I don't want anyone listening to waffle. I mean, you might not even hear it as waffle, but I think, you know, I self-reflect a lot, you know, just like you do. The Bible says the days will become shorter before the end comes. There are so many there are so many prophecies in the Bible, Ruth, that are also being artificially manipulated, and that concerns me, because then you're kind of torn between, is it man-made or is it prophetic? You know, it's a split straight down the middle. Which is which? Which is the truth? What's the truth? But there are a few things that you've said over the years that have made me really think, and that can't be manipulated. So I think you know my views, Ruth, and the fact that you still here is lovely, and I appreciate that you've kind of just accepted me for me, and you know that I don't mean any malice ever, especially towards you. So the Bible's been messed about with so many times that it's really difficult to figure out what of it is real and what of it was edited over the years, you know. And then you throw into the mix what was wrong with the Old Testament. Well, the Old Testament was the original one, so shouldn't we keep to the original source of, you know, why did we need to make a new one? There were loads and loads of and then they left out the book of Enoch in the King James Bible, and the book of Enoch gives the King James Bible a whole new fucking a brand new face, a new interpretation, you know. So there are all those things that and you know that I'm not mocking you, and I'm not pulling you down for your belief system, and I have never done that, you know. I've always just been honest with you. So I've got questions, but I do believe that there are certain things in the Bible that do mean something. It's just that unfortunately there's so much in there that's so unbelievably open to interpretation that people just interpret it the way that they want to interpret it, you know, which might be different from Bob to Rita, and then different to Sue. I can't believe I just used Rita, Sue, and Bob too, and the Bible together. I do apologise, Ruth. I didn't see that coming either, you know. That was not planned. Yeah, lots of books left out which are a good read. Yeah. The Book of Enoch's very interesting, you know. I find the Bible quite interesting. The bits that I've read of it, you know. It's just that the problems that religion has brought to this world is incredible, you know. And then if you look back to, you know, the different eras of Christianity, Ruth, there was a section of the Catholic Church where, you know, you had to repent, or, you know, and they cut you up and, you know, just torture you. So if Christianity's gone through all of these different phases and different ownerships and stuff like that, and then rewritten into the New Testament from the Old Testament, how much of it is real? How much can you have genuine faith in? You know? So again, I may not be a Christian, but I do have faith, and I do believe in a higher power. I do, you know, I do have faith. I do. So I respect yours, I'm just saying I've got questions, lots of questions with no answers. None. But I would still sincerely say, God bless you. You know? Right. Oh, we need to leave. We need to end it on a laugh. I don't like leaving things on a. It wasn't actually a negative, you know. It was a. I think actually, we've left this conversation on a level of serious thought, you know. Hey Ruth, you're a fucking diamond. You are. And thanks for sticking by me for half a decade. You're all appreciated. You are. And we all carry quite a lot of weight on our shoulders because of what we know, and the average Joe doesn't, you know. And that's commendable. And I don't think any of you give yourselves enough credit for it. So I'll do that for you. Just know that you matter, you know, because you do. You do. So have a great weekend. Make sure you all have a great weekend, and just know that you're loved. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.